everyone, Joe here from ActionX, and welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your third, The Rookie Season 7 episode review, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. So if you're wondering where is my handsome face today, sadly, so what happened it's gonna be funny. Actually not funny. So I was setting up the show, I thought everything was fine, the camera was fine, I thought the microphone was working fine, and yeah, so I recorded the review. Then after the review was over, I went to go do something else, and then I went back to edit the review, and the audio was not saved. And I'm just like, great. Just great. 618 episodes, and I'm still forgetting to fully check the to make sure the episode's recording, which is just great. So sadly, the set's taken down. Everything's already been packed up. And and it's already super late at night because, again, remember, The Rookie's back at its 10 o'clock showtime. So sadly, there is no time for me to get back on camera. So enjoy this audio recording. Hopefully by next week, we should be back over to our normal setup. But with that all being said, I do apologize once more. But yeah, so where was I with that? So yeah, so this week on The Rookie, I really enjoyed it. I really did. I know I was a little hard on it last week with some choices they made. I think this week I was surprised by some choices they made with some of the decisions they took to some of the characters. Bringing back a character, which I'll talk about more about later. I'm still a little flustered on certain decisions and how long this might take. Some being like, are we going to spend too much time on this? Or some I'm like, are we done with this already? And again, I always say this before with, I think every show I review, every time I talk about The Rookie specifically, it's like, I trust the writers. I really, really do. They've done 6 great seasons, and I think they know what they're doing by this point. To keep the show fresh, to keep the show engaging, and all that sort. But also, I'm also allowed to voice like, yeah, there's a couple things that I'm a little bit concerned about a little bit. But honestly, at the end of the day, you know, hopefully this is one of those, like, as the pieces go, this will fall into place down the road. But at least for this episode, I did really enjoy it. It did do a couple of interesting things out of the box that I wasn't expecting, which again, as I said before, The Rookie has reminded us with this season so far that they are willing to do a couple things that are interesting, new out of the box to keep the show fresh. Again, being in season 7 is a very important time to be able to keep things interesting for the fan base, who has been here for so long and probably will be here regardless of how things go, but they at least want to get something a little bit different with this go around, especially with this season. But with all that being said, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of The Rookie. So we get with an interesting pairing, Nolan and Bradford. They don't really get like a lot of one-on-one time now, which I said that because they had a scene last week together, so I completely forgot about that. But yeah, no, so Nolan installed this new fancy dancy schmancy security system to protect him and Bailey from the eventual return of Jason. And he's hired, he's bribing Bradford with Lakers tickets to come in and just kind of, try to break into the house with this fancy security system. And Nolan, being sadly the lovable yet cocky motherfucker he is, bets that he could probably take a whole nap without Bradford being able to break in. And after his nap was over, Bradford was already there drinking one of his beers, which I'm just like, I love Bradford so much. I really, really do. And Nolan just like... you got a lot of easy things, but it's one of those things like maybe you should just, take it under the radar. You should. We cut over back to the, So we cut over to the Evers residence, where Wesley is revisiting the tape where the detective is confessing his feelings he's about to start confessing his feelings for Angela, when she pulls on the headphones, briefly revealing the voice, and Wesley tries to like shut it off quickly, acting like, this is confidential, you shouldn't be doing this, and Lopez is like, hey, you a dad, we got kids, we gotta wrangle them up before we gotta go to work. And okay, okay, yeah, let's do that right now. We cut over to the station where Chen and Bradford are being summoned by the Honorable Gray, who has overheard the fact that both of them has put in bets for their rookies, which he is not akin to, considering the fact that the LAPD has invested $500,000 into each of their trainings, and that this is not what their TO officers should be doing. They should be giving them the utmost professionalism with their training, and this is exactly not what to do with their training. Bradford decides to take most of the heat for this, being the superior officer. Chen tries to interject and said that, it's also her fault too. And Gray's like, I appreciate the sentiment, that you're trying to defend one another. But however, yeah, this is not how it's going to roll. This is not how it's going to work here whatsoever. I'm going to go back to yelling at you. So you're going to stop the bet today. You're going to go back. You're going to switch your rookies for the day to make sure you're being fair and equal with your trading by considering the other persons. And then we should never, ever, ever hear of this situation ever again. And but Bradford decides to say, well, he did say we're going to end it by the day, but he didn't say exactly what time. So we can do it after shift. So this could be our last day. Also see how the other's doing, kind of like a check-in so far on the other's teaching methods. And I'm just kind of just stating for the fact that Bradford is probably just doing all this, like trying to like have some sort of like personal level of conversation with Chen, considering the fact they're still broken up, which I'm really not understanding why they're not back together. I'm really not. We skipped the bullpen scene this week. Juarez already set up the shot, but Nolan got a tip from one of the detectives that they just pulled in someone last night for a double homicide, but apparently on his records, he did have a previous connection to Jason. So Nolan goes solo to go mini interrogate him, trying to get like that information out of him easily, but the guy's just like, I will only do it if you give me some sort of deal, which again, Nolan should not have the power to do so. And thankfully, the lead detective on this case does stop him in his tracks, just to let him know that, hey, this dude, we got him a double homicide. There ain't no need to cut a deal. We are not going to pursue anything with this guy. So Nolan decides to take the other approach, trying to speak to Wesley, see if there's anything he can do on the DA's perspective. But Wesley also says, oh, hell no. Like, we got this case in the bag. We don't even need anything else. We got the witnesses. We got the testimony. We got everything in the bag. We don't need to cut a plea deal with him. And obviously, Nolan does say that, like, yeah, well, considering how things are going right now, he does need to secure the safety, but Nolan does, but Wesley does recommend, like, hey, if this is a problem you're still having, then maybe you should consider other angles to figure out what's going on with that one. So Nolan gets the tip and takes Juarez over to go meet up with the mother of the arrestee, trying to get any sort of angle on him. And at first it doesn't really go anywhere, but Nolan decides to kind of casually promise her to the fact that, you know what, so Nolan promises to be his guardian angel, to guarantee, not to guarantee full immunity, but like at least if Nolan responds to the scene, he will be more lenient towards him. And the mother said, okay, I'll see what I can do. Meanwhile, Chen lets Ridley and Penn notify them about the TO switch for the day, and however, that's sadly interrupted by the time Rachel, if you remember her back from season 2, returns, and she is welcomed back with open arms by Chen. There's a little bit of confusion going around considering the fact that they did not have any sort of communication since 6 months ago, which thankfully thankfully is they haven't seen each other in 6 months. Rachel from season 2, if you can remember that, and she's back. They haven't spoken to each other in 6 months since things have happened to Rachel. Sadly, she is no longer employed at the New York job that we heard about back last season. Well, not last season, back in season 2. She's kind of fallen down in her luck and having no choice but to return home in order to kind of, pick herself back up and try to restart her life back over again. And, she also asked for an update from Chen. Chen sadly does let her know that, the detective role was not her. Tim broke up. Samara moved out. She has a new roommate. So things have been quite interesting on Chen's front. And so the two's catching up gets interrupted as Bradford comes into play. Another awkward reunion. It's like, hey, I haven't seen you in like 5 seasons. Like, oh my God. It's like, we kind of been doing our, okay, I'm sorry to go too far off the deep end on this one. It's still a little awkward. Apparently she did ghost him since season 2, which I'm like, so the whole thing about, giving each other an opportunity to grow long distance, I guess that didn't really work out there. That quite didn't really work out there. So anyway, so they load up the shops, but however, before they can get into it, Gray lets them know they do have a armed suspect wanted out in Hollywood that they requested additional units for. So the two of them are about to head out there to go to go assist with the matter. Ridley is about to get subjected to his first Tim test. However, because Chen already kind of warned him about almost every single one of Tim's tests, he's like, oh, so Chen kind of gave you a little bit of a cheat sheet. Okay, let's see how it is. Meanwhile, when Chen and Penn arrives to the scene, Penn makes a lewd comment about Chen, and Chen's like kind of putting him in his place, but doesn't really 100% like really do so. She just kind of tells Bradford about it. Bradford puts him in his place, which I'm like, that's just great. Sadly, while they're setting up the barricades further and trying to like really arm up the place, a car blasts through the barricade and crashes into a nearby tree. However, when they go inside of it, it turns out to be a diversion for the real guy, but thankfully Ridley stops him in his tracks, but he reverses back around, which kind of doesn't make sense. Like, wouldn't you just like go the other way originally? I really don't know what's going on. I do not know what was in his decision-making process over here. So Chen and Bradford give pursuit with their rookies on vehicle. They briefly do lose him. They get out of their cars and they try to look around, considering the fact they don't hear a motorcycle sound anywhere. They do find him running on foot. The rookies go after him while Chen and Bradford decide to pursue him back in the shops. Sadly, the suspect does get a woman into his custody, holding her as a hostage while he holds himself up in her house. Ridley and Penn quickly go around the house to try and intercept them, but however, by the time they turn over the corner, Bradford, Chen tries to stand them down, but they didn't really work. That doesn't really work out for them, considering the fact that they could just say, well, we didn't hear you from a distance. We got adrenaline running. Like we can't really hear you if that's really occurring right now. So from there, I want to say, they're starting to slowly get into the house quickly. Gray responds to the scene. He's wondering what the hell's going on. Where are the rookies? They fill them out of the situation. He's like, well, that's just great. Well, you better find some way to pull them back over here. Otherwise, we're going to have 3 hostages, considering the fact these two have no real, knowledge of how to handle a hostage situation. Chen does text Ridley, but however, Penn decides to kind of like still play lone wolf about it. Like, you could just say like you were in the thrill of the action. Like you couldn't really register what was really going on with the message, which I'm like, my dudes, you are literally on body cameras. Like anyone you're reviewed at the end of every shift. Like they could just literally read it, so you're already disobeying orders, but at least Ridley's like, Penn's like, well, we'll be honored as heroes. We can save the woman, save the day, get the guy. Like it'll be a win-win. And Ridley, sadly, I could tell he's obviously subjected to peer pressure before, so he decides to go along with it. And they're only thankful there because of sheer luck, because the guy overhears the woman's son upstairs, so he decides to head upstairs to go get him, so that he can have 2 hostages. But however, it does create an opening for both Penn and Ridley to corral him, manages to quickly arrest him and save everyone without incident. So when they ring in that code 4, everyone's just like, the fuck? Like, 2 rookies took care of their first hostage situation without any superior guidance, and everyone in the neighborhood's cheering for them, recording them on the TikTok, which just got unbanned there. And they're just like, well, that's just great. That's just perfect. By the time those 2 return back to the station, they're immediately expecting like a parade, awards, like for their bravery as such a young feat. But however, Bradford kind of stoops them back to reality, considering the fact that Gray is currently getting chewed out for the whole incident, and that was not Gray's happy face. He's definitely going to get some words about this coming soon about that. Yeah, so these 2 might be on their end of their FDO program, and as punishment, they're going to be sentenced for station duty for the rest of the day, Bart Simpson style, with receiving the punishment of writing that I will not go rogue again. I will not go rogue again. But yeah, so from there on, I believe, where do we go from there? We come back over to Nolan and Juarez, who gets an update in about the mother. She does get in touch with her other son, but however, they don't really get anywhere on that. But she does overhear the fact that apparently people are looking for Jason. It's not just the cops, and that they hired a hitman to go after him, even bringing the fabled name of the individual. And by the time Nolan loops that back in with Lopez and Harper, they do confirm that he's like a boogeyman. He is well known, but there is some debatability whether or not he is a legitimate threat to them. So sadly, he's not been an easy catch for them. So however, if Jason's in his sights, that it's more easier than not that he will be taken out eventually, which will also solve Nolan's problem. But Nolan being Nolan, Does not believe this is the way Jason should go. He should be back in prison, and takes this information not too lightly. Shifts over for everyone. Lopez and Harper decide to have a double date with their husbands, eating freaking Harper's own daughter's cooking, which I'm just like, y'all adults, you should be doing the cooking. You got kids, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is on that front. And they're just they're having a debate about just how the state of policing is right now, considering after the scandal. And it's again going back to last week where Harper spoke to her husband about the fact that, you know, they rushed too early. Like, they have two very opposing different viewing of policing, and one of them is like an actual cop, that this could be this could be a problematic thing for them. And, you know, this conversation was like, it wasn't necessarily what's the word? He wasn't necessarily off about that too. So definitely is a very tricky thing to like kind of deal. Still, like, it wasn't like direct like issue at hand, but definitely it is laying the seeds of like there is still more things to unravel as we go through the next few weeks, hopefully. We cut over to Nolan, who is trying to get some sleep, but however his security system does go off, thinking that it is Jason. He is ready for action. He calls in for backup. But however, when he does look at the door, it's just a random drunk girl who's just looking for her friend, and that's all that it was about it. And Nolan kind of uses this moment like, crap, there ain't nothing I can do here if I'm just waiting around for him to show up. So he decides to be proactive. He returns back to the station, reviews some cases related to the hitman. There was one detail about a vehicle that was spotted at the scene, but it was never really followed up on. He checks in with Smithy, who does not give him any more information. They just assumed that it was just like one of those affair type of ordeals. That's about it. So they didn't really pursue that any forward. But Nolan, knowing this is his only real credible lead, decides to continue to follow up on this. And he does find the individual. He follows him over to a sketchy downtown alleyway, which he goes into a even more sketchier building, heading downstairs to reveal that this guy is the hitman, and he is torturing a security guard for information about Jason. Nolan does go forward to try to arrest him, but the hitman is very well prepared, very well versed, and manages to get the drop on him as well, trying to like flee away, but however shooting the security officer in the process. Nolan does have a bit of a blunder moment here where Nolan should have been focusing on the security guard, trying to get him back to safe ground before that wound bleeds out a little bit more. But Nolan, knowing the fact that, hey, look, this guy may know where Jason is, maybe has some detail that we might need. I need to go get him before he tries to come back and kill us. So you're gonna put pressure on this, and I'm gonna go get the guy. Which is no, you're supposed to be protecting the person first, the criminal second in this case. So Nolan goes deeper into the underbellies of this building, not finding him much for a good while of it, like really exploring the decadent ruins of this abandoned building. However, he does get corralled by him in another room. They do engage in a brief shootout. However, Nolan does take notice of what pistol he was using and how many bullets he has, and he does count it, and he does know that because of his MO, that most likely he's not carrying many extra stocks on him, because the fact is that if he's going to carry all that over, it means he's not as good as he thinks he is. And he does admit to the fact that he does drop his gun. He does let himself get arrested as Nolan puts the cuffs on him as they return back upstairs to the security officer, who is sadly bleeding out very heavily, very profusely. And sadly, with there being no reception in the area, Nolan has to make a choice. Either he has to abandon the arrest and get this guy back above ground so he can get for help, or he has to pursue forward with this arrest, but let the security officer die. Back at the station, actually, I forgot there was a scene between Chen and Rachel talking just about Tim, because the fact that so both of them dated the same dude, but they don't have those conversations. They just talk about the fact that about the irony of that, and that Rachel honestly thought that her and Bradford could have made it, and honestly everyone else thought they were going to make it, but things don't work out the way they seem, and they just decide, you know what, I'm just going to focus strictly on the work, just focus on that. And let's call it a day on that. Even Juarez kind of interjects herself in a little bit, trying to learn a little bit more about this. Even getting a little bit more deeper into things, but not too much of it. But she does pivot the conversation over to Nolan, asking Chen if she does have anything of Nolan's possession to give him a protection spell, considering the fact he's been very hung up on the whole Jason thing, and that he might be focusing a little bit too much about it. We head over back to, I want to say, where do we go from here? I want to say we head back over to Nolan's case where, no, we head back over to the station where Ridley and Penn the next morning are getting officially not reprimanded because apparently, even though they did disobey orders, sadly, because the department is under a PR scrutiny right now and they're actually getting positive feedback because of these two's actions, that firing them is not in the best interest of the station right now. So they have no choice but to let them go, let them stay on. But however, Gray does let them know that the next thing you two do, even the minorest thing, because you guys are on the edge of a thin ice right now. So definitely you got to be very, very careful on that. Very, very careful. But Juarez interrupts the whole thing, letting them know that Nolan's nowhere to be found. They kind of all meet up about it, assuming it is about Jason and the last lead about the hitman. So they research Nolan's research and hit up Smithy again, who just cannot get a wink of sleep. He cannot get a lick of sleep on his day off. Like, really, it really does suck about that. Yeah, so from there, they do get a hit on Nolan's location. They head over there, and sadly, beforehand, Nolan attempts to bargain with the hitman, trying to like assist him on saving this guy. However, the hitman had other plans as he manages to break out of his handcuffs, hit Nolan in the face, and runs away with it. Sadly, with being able to get that. Where do we go from that? Yeah, no, so sadly, he does get away. Nolan makes the right decision to stay with the security guard as he's trying to think of his next move, but when everyone else shows up, like, it is already too late. The guy already left the area, but thankfully, ambulances managed to call in to come in and rescue this guy. Nolan gets taken over to the hospital, gets a few stitches for his wounds, meets up with Juarez about just the whole thing, realizing that the fact that he was stressing all over Jason, because at the end of the day, he was doing all this because of his safety, but at the end of the day, all that he's been doing has been, like, spiraling because of it. So the fact of the matter is that the only thing he can do at the moment is just, not let Jason win, not let him, like, interject themselves into his life anymore, and decides to just, disarm the security system, let the facts of play is, and whenever they do get the opportunity to get Jason, they will get Jason. But until then, there's something he can do, just continue to move life forward as it may be. Which was very smart, a very smart move from Nolan, even though that I kind of wanted more of him spiraling down a little bit. In a respectful, he wasn't spiraling like crazily, but he was definitely like not on the good end of that. He really wasn't. Then after that, Bradford wraps up his shift. He actually runs into Rachel outside the station as Rachel decides to use this opportunity to kind of get a little closure for them, a little closure for us as the fans, like that kind of left that storyline kind of left unresolved back from season 3, and. She does apologize to him, like saying that, like, New York got really busy. I just really wanted to do well in my new job. Then with the downstairs, like, nothing really made sense to really kind of keep thinking it. And it was like, it was in the best decision to just focus on just the job for the moment. And Bradford just tells her, like, look, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You did what you thought was best. And we're good. We're all good right now. And that's, that they could just continue being friends as best they can. That's all they can really do. I think from there, yeah, that was one of the last scenes, Lopez and Wesley talking about just everything that was going on, and like Lopez does know about the detective. Not from that regard. She just overheard the voice and knew that it was him, but she just only has to ask Wesley, like, is he under investigation? Is this someone I should distance myself from? And Wesley's like, nope, there's nothing on that front you need to worry about. And Lopez's response can be taken as either way from that point on. Either way from that. Then Nolan, as a sign of good faith, decides to continue to take down his what's the word? From his security system to get rid of it. Yeah, sadly, Bailey decides to drop by a little bit early, but sadly because they were in the middle of like the deconstruction process, the security system is left unsynced up, so they cannot be properly reunited at the moment. So Nolan decides to just advise Bailey, hey, if you go for the bathroom window, you could probably get back in the house, which I'm just like, she's like, okay. And I'm just like, yeah, these two are made for each other. Like, Nolan's blunderness versus Bailey's willingness to kind of conform is just like, it's perfect between them. Perfect matching. And that was it for this week's episode of The Rookie. I enjoyed this episode for what it is. I really did. Like I said, I would have preferred Nolan spiraling over Jason to last a few more episodes. We're not done with that storyline 100% speaking, but definitely I would have liked to see him, like, like get a little bit reprimanded for this because he kind of like went off this tangent without prior approval. So I personally felt like he should have gotten in trouble for it. But again, this is no one we're talking about. He's kind of like on this like main protagonist or around him, so nothing really bad is going to happen to him, which can have its benefits or not. Ridley and Penn, I am starting to love their banter a little bit. I really do. I don't quite think, like definitely I would like for them to like loop in more of Juarez, even though like she's about to get out of the TO program, but at least for the moment kind of like have that sense of commodity ship, even like if the time periods are not exactly the same. But no, I do honestly really hope that these two can like have that buddy cop energy from like the 90s. That's the feel I'm starting to get from them. It's just in a modern way, which I really do hope we get to explore more about. I was actually curious about Rachel's return. I did not call that whatsoever. I literally thought it was a one season and done character. What her presence is going to do, I really don't know. I can't tell you one way or another. I really can't. But what I can say is that I do welcome her, and that hopefully that this will maybe cause a little bit more stir in the Chenford front, like maybe like, oh no, Bradford better not go back to her. Like, again, the writers know what they're doing, and we're gonna trust them about it. We really are, and that's all we can really do on that front. But also with the Wesley Lopez thing, even the Harper and her husband, like, oh, James, that's her husband name, James. Like, I was struggling with that in the original recording too. With their like brief relationship discourse, I really hope that gets resolved sooner than later, because again, communication is very key. I know it's not always 1, 2, 3, but it's also, yeah, it's very much something that they should be addressing very soon. But yeah, well, that all being said, I still very much enjoyed it. I'll give this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below, what did you think of this week's episode of The Rookie? I would love to hear your comments down below, as always. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 7th season of The Rookie. If you want to know, we're doing our What's the 2 beside our Rookie episode reviews. Next week, we should be back with our Madlock episode reviews every Thursday night, so stay tuned for that. We should also have our Blue Beetle review from After the Theater up sometime within this week or next. But if you don't care about The Rookie, you're in luck. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode review for you. So stay tuned until then. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow us on social media for more. But until then, please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.